Jake, what language do you dream in?
Oh, that's a good one. It changes, actually. When I was first learning Spanish deeply, immersively, I started having Spanish dreams. Not full conversations, more like the emotional language was Spanish. The feeling of the dream was Spanish, even when I couldn't replay the words.
The feeling of the dream.
Yeah, and I remember the morning I woke up and realized I dreamed in Spanish. It felt like something had shifted, like the language had gone somewhere deeper than memory.
That's exactly what we're talking about today, because there's a moment in every language learner's journey, if they get there, when the language stops being a code they're cracking and starts being something they just live in.
And getting there is the whole thing, isn't it?
Getting there is the whole thing. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. Welcome to Speak First English, where we speak first and think second. And today, we're talking about the shift from translating in your head to actually thinking in English, what it is, why it matters, and specifically, how you get there.
Today, think in English, not in your language. How to stop translating.
And I want to be honest right away about something. Thinking in English is not a light switch. You don't decide to do it and then it happens. It's a gradual process, and it happens through specific kinds of practice, not through willpower.
And most people don't know what those specific kinds of practice are. They just wait and hope. And one day, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't.
Today, we skip the waiting.
But first, let me describe what translation actually costs. Because a lot of people think, I translate in my head, so what? The result is the same.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same at all. When you translate, you produce English from your own language. But your own language has a structure, a rhythm, a way of organizing thought. And that structure doesn't map perfectly onto English.
So what comes out sounds slightly off. Not wrong exactly, but not quite right. Like a photograph that's been printed from a scan of a photograph.
One generation removed, the copy of a copy.
And the listener can feel it, not always consciously, but they can feel when the English was translated rather than thought. There's a slight gap, a slight mechanical quality.
And when you think in English, when the thought forms first in English, what comes out is different. It has the shape of English from the inside, not the shape of another language translated into English.
Before we start, please share this episode because everyone who is learning a language is at some point on this journey from translating to thinking, and knowing where you are and what to do next changes everything.
Let's talk about the shift.
Anna, let's map out what actually happens, because I think a lot of learners don't know where they are on this journey.
Right. So there are roughly 3 stages.
Walk us through them.
Stage 1, full translation. Every thought is formed in your first language. Then you translate it sentence by sentence, then you say it. This is slow, effortful, and often produces that slightly off quality we described.
Early learning stage.
Early learning. Most learners spend a long time here, and it's completely fine. It's where everyone starts.
Stage 2.
Stage 2, partial thinking in English. Some things you think directly in English. Simple things, familiar things, things you've said many times. I need coffee. You don't translate that. It forms in English because you've thought it so many times in English.
The automatic phrases.
The automatic phrases, the things that became English first through repetition. But for more complex thoughts, emotions, arguments, nuance, you still go back to your first language and translate.
Which is where most intermediate learners are.
Most B1, B2 learners are exactly here. Some things are automatic. Complex things require translation. And the frustration is that you know more than you can say in real time.
And stage 3?
Stage 3, thinking in English. Not perfectly, not without any trace of your first language, but the primary language of thought for more and more topics in more and more contexts is English. You react in English. You process emotions in English. You argue with yourself in English.
And dreams.
And eventually, dreams.
So the question is, how do you get from stage 2 to stage 3? Because that's where most of our listeners are, partial and wanting more.
That's exactly where we're going.
Anna, when did you first notice yourself thinking in English? A specific memory if you have one.
Yes, very specific. I was walking to the supermarket, just alone, nothing special, and I was having this internal argument with myself about whether to call someone about something I'd been putting off. And I realized after about 5 minutes of this internal conversation that the whole thing had been in English.
Not translated.
Not translated. I wasn't arguing with myself in my language and then converting it. The argument was in English. The hesitation was in English. Even the guilt about putting off the call. English.
The guilt was in English.
Even the guilt. And I remember stopping on the pavement and thinking, oh, something changed. I'm not sure when, but it changed.
Mine is different. Mine is more about noticing when my first language stopped being the automatic response.
Tell us.
So I was watching the news in English, and something unexpected happened in the report, and my immediate internal reaction, the first thing, the gut response before any thought, was in English. Oh no, not translated, just oh no in English.
The emotional reaction came in English.
And that's the tell. When the emotional, involuntary, immediate response is in the second language, that's when you know you're thinking in it. Because you can't translate an involuntary reaction. It's too fast. It has to be native.
And that's actually the roadmap. Get the emotional, fast, automatic responses into English. The reasoning will follow. Let's get into the actual practices. Practice 1, and this is the most fundamental. Practice 1, move your internal monologue into English.
Your internal monologue is the voice in your head, the constant running commentary on your own experience. I need to do that today. This traffic is terrible. I wonder if she meant that the way it sounded. What am I going to have for dinner?
You probably have thousands of these thoughts every day.
And almost all of them, for most learners, happen in their first language automatically.
And shifting even part of the internal monologue to English, not all of it, just part, is one of the most effective practices for building English thinking.
How do you do it?
You start with the easy ones, the simple, repetitive daily thoughts. I'm hungry. The weather is beautiful today. I forgot to reply to that message. You convert those into English first.
Not because those thoughts matter linguistically, I'm hungry is not sophisticated, but because the habit of having that thought in English hundreds of times builds the automatic English first reflex.
And once simple thoughts are automatic in English, you can gradually push to more complex ones. I'm not sure how I feel about this. There's something I want to say, but I can't quite form it yet. This situation is more complicated than I thought.
You're essentially practicing using English before you need to perform English, in private, with no stakes, with unlimited time.
In English, here's how you describe this practice. I've been trying to narrate my thoughts in English, even when I'm alone. I talk to myself in English on the commute. It sounds strange, but it works. I describe what I see in English, the street, the people, the weather.
Internal monologue practice. Move it, even 20% of it, into English, starting today.
Practice 2, and this one is almost like a game, a low-effort, high-impact habit. Practice 2, play the English label game.
The English label game is simple. Every time you encounter an object, an action, a situation, name it in English, silently, before the equivalent in your language has a chance to form.
So you wake up in the morning. Alarm, ceiling, light through curtains, cold floor, coffee maker.
Not sentences, not grammar, just the English word in your mind at the moment you see or experience the thing.
And the reason this works is it trains the brain to reach for English first, before the first language, just by making English the default labeling system.
And eventually, labels become descriptions. The alarm is too loud, and I'm not ready to be awake yet. Still simple, but fuller, and English.
And descriptions become thoughts. I didn't sleep well, and today is going to be difficult. Now you're thinking, in English, about your life.
Starting from a label, ceiling.
Starting from ceiling. The label game works because it's low stakes. You can't fail at naming a ceiling, and yet every time you do it in English, you are building one more automatic English connection in your brain.
In English, how you talk about this practice, I've started labeling things in English, kind of narrating my environment silently. I catch myself naming things in English before I name them in my language now. It's a small thing, but after a while you notice that English just starts coming first.
Practice 3, and this one is about targeting the emotional vocabulary specifically, because emotions are the key to real thinking in a language. Practice 3, learn to name your emotions in English first.
Because here's what we found, and this is backed by research in neuroscience. Emotions are processed faster and more automatically than complex thoughts. When you feel something, the feeling comes before the thought about the feeling.
And if your emotional vocabulary is primarily in your first language, your emotional reactions will always pull you back to your first language first. But if you really learn, deeply learn how to name emotions in English, the emotional reaction can happen in English.
And when your emotional reactions are in English, your responses to those emotions, your thoughts, your decisions, your conversations start to follow.
So the practice, every time you feel something, anything, name it in English. Right now, I'm frustrated. I feel a strange kind of sad. I'm excited, but also nervous. There's something that feels like guilt, and I'm not sure why.
These are not just vocabulary exercises. These are anchors. You're creating English language anchors for your own emotional experience.
And when you have an English anchor for a feeling, the next time that feeling arrives, the English word comes with it, before the translation.
That's the emotional automatic response Jake described. Oh no, before any thought. Just the English because the feeling and the English have been trained together.
In English, here's the language for this practice. I've been naming my feelings in English as they happen. It sounds simple, but it's actually quite challenging. There are feelings I know exactly in my language that I'm still finding the right English for. The more I name emotions in English, the more English becomes the place where I actually process things.
English becomes the place where I actually process things. That sentence, when it becomes true for you, is when you're there.
Practice 4, and this one is the one that pulls everything together. Practice 4, speak without looking back.
What does looking back mean here?
Looking back means mid-sentence returning to your first language to find what you want to say. The pattern looks like this. Start in English, hit an unknown word or a complex structure, mentally switch back to your first language to find it, translate it, and then return to English and continue.
That switching back is the translation habit, and it's the habit we're trying to break.
And the practice, speak without looking back, means once you start a sentence in English, you commit to finishing it in English, even if you have to describe what you want to say instead of saying it, even if it comes out slightly wrong, even if you have to pause.
But no switching, no mental trip back to your first language to find the missing part.
And when you hit the wall, when the word doesn't come, you use circumlocution. We've talked about this. The thing that you feel when you're happy but it's mixed with something sad, what's the word? And keep going.
Or, I'm not sure of the exact word, but what I mean is, and describe it in English.
Because the act of describing in English, of searching for the English solution rather than going back to your first language for the answer, that is the practice of thinking in English.
You're teaching your brain the answer is always here, in English, not back there, not across the translation bridge.
And every time you find the English solution, even awkwardly, even imperfectly, the bridge between your first language and the answer gets slightly less traveled. English gets slightly more automatic.
Speak without looking back. Stay in the English. Describe, circumlocute, guess, improvise, but stay.
Speak without looking back. Stay in the English. Describe, circumlocute, guess, improvise, but stay.
Word tour. Today's words are about thinking, language, and the experience of having a second language become your own.
These are the words for talking about this experience in English, which is delightfully appropriate. Let's go.
First, fluent versus fluid.
Fluent means able to speak a language easily and naturally, but fluid, which we love, means moving smoothly without effort or interruption. I want my English to feel fluid, not just correct. I want it to flow without me having to manage it. Or, she's fluent in the technical sense, but what makes her truly impressive is how fluid she is. It doesn't look like effort.
Next, automatic.
Automatic means happening without conscious thought, instinctive, self-operating. Some phrases in English are already automatic for me. I don't translate them, they just come. Or, the goal is to make English thinking automatic, not just English speaking.
Then, immerse or immersion.
To immerse yourself means to involve yourself deeply in something, surrounding yourself completely with it. Immersion is that process. I've been trying to immerse myself in English as much as possible. Podcasts, films, reading, self-talk. Or, Real immersion isn't about geography, it's about how much of your mental life happens in the language.
And process.
To process something means to think about it and make sense of it, to mentally work through it. I find I'm starting to process emotions in English, which is strange but also exciting. Or, the moment a second language becomes the place where you process your experience is the moment it really becomes yours.
And default.
Your default is what you do automatically, without thinking about it, your baseline response. English is becoming my default for certain kinds of thinking, especially when I'm emotional. Or, changing your default language for internal thought is one of the most significant shifts in language learning.
And one more, overlap.
Overlap, when two things share the same space or time. In language terms, when your first language and English stop being separate and start sharing thought space. I notice there's an overlap now. Sometimes I'm not sure which language a thought started in. Or, the overlap between languages is actually one of the most interesting experiences in being multilingual.
Speaking Gym Challenge. For the next hour after this episode, try to name everything you see or feel in English. Just labels, no grammar, no sentences needed. Just English words in your mind, first, and notice what happens.
4 things to start today.
1. Pick one category of internal monologue to move into English this week. Just one. Daily thoughts, work thoughts, thoughts about what you're eating, whatever is easiest. Move it to English first.
2. Play the label game for 10 minutes today. Walk around your space. Name things in English before your first language has a chance to name them. Ceiling, window, morning light, coffee, quiet.
3. Name the next 3 emotions you feel today in English. Write when they happen. I'm relieved. That was frustrating. Something about this is making me feel hopeful.
4. Next time you speak English and hit a wall, don't go back. Stay in the English. Describe it, circumlocute, keep going. One time, see what happens.
Quick recap.
There are 3 stages: full translation, partial thinking, genuine English thinking. Most of our listeners are in stage 2 and working toward 3.
The 4 practices: internal monologue, the label game, name emotions first, speak without looking back.
The destination is not perfection. It's English becoming the place where you actually live, where you process, where you feel, where you argue with yourself at 3 in the morning.
Our question for today.
Have you ever had a moment, a thought, a feeling, a reaction that happened in English before your own language? Tell us in the comments. In English, describe the moment.
Because that moment, however small, is the signal. The language is going somewhere deeper, and knowing it's there makes it easier to find again.
You don't have to wait for the dream. It starts right now with the next thought you choose to have in English.
This was Speak First English.
Until next time, speak first, think second, and please think first in English, even just for one sentence. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.